Welcome back to another recipe. Today I'm making a really simple and tasty salmon tart. It's a really good way to use up your leftover fish, and I also think it's a really good spring/summertime treat. So what we've got here is some ready rolled puff pastry, because you know, who can be bothered rolling it out yourself? If you can find it and buy it, might as well use it. So we're going to start by scoring a line about 1.5 centimeters in from the edge. It doesn't have to be perfect. This is just going to act as a border to leave clear. The rest is where your topping is going to be. So we've scored the line, and we're going to add some dill sauce. Watch the recipe I made if you want to see how I made it. It's cooled, it's very thick, and that's because it has to act as a base for all of this. So you're going to spread it on evenly. Not too thick, not too thin. You know, you don't want it to become soggy, but it has to be made quite thick. So spread that on. So I'm going to use some leftover salmon here. Maybe I should show that in a recipe someday. So all we're going to do with the salmon is just break bits off it and try to flake it up. Try not to include the bones in the middle. You can include the skin if you want. I'm going to, because lots of the marinade is on there. So you'll find that there's little bones here. Just pick them out. Or if you find the full skeleton, just pull that out. Just do be careful with that. You can feel around. Don't want people choking on the bone. And you're going to flake little pieces off. Just flake it off. You can include the skin if you want, or if you don't want. And what you're going to do is you're going to get little pieces of the salmon and just place it on. You can do it to whatever size you want. If you want big pieces, have it in big pieces. I'm going to vary a little because I just like a little bit of variation in mine. So just flake it on. You'll see the salmon should flake really easily if it's cooked right. And remember, it will continue to cook in the oven, so I'm going to keep this right at the bottom of the pastry where it's going to be covered by a little bit of cheese and my other vegetables, just to prevent it overcooking. So now we're going to spread some just mild cheddar cheese. Italians will tell you that fish and cheese don't go. I say I don't care. This helps the fish stop burning, and I love the taste of cheese. You don't want to add too much because you don't want to overpower that fish. So I'm just going to sprinkle a little on. And plus I still want to see a little bit of that pink popping through at the end. I'm also going to add a little bit of red Leicester cheese. This is optional. I like the kind of sharpness it brings. I also spread the cheddar right to the edge of the puff pastry, just to hopefully help it stop puffing up too much in the areas I don't want. If it does puff up a little, doesn't matter. You don't want to add too much cheese. Just a little here and there, like so. Now I'm just going to add some thin slices of red onion, just a little bit here and there. Scatter it on. Try to break it up a little bit if you can. So the red onion has been added, and the final ingredient for now is going to be some thin slices of red tomato. I've taken out the soggy middles of the tomatoes just because I don't want this lovely pastry to become soggy. So just layer that out. Try to spread it reasonably evenly. And you're going to spread that all over the tart. Remember when I said the tomatoes would be my last ingredient for now? I lied. I'm going to add some dried parsley. Sprinkle that on. And this is ready for the oven. I'm going to put it in the oven at about 180. You can do 200 degrees if you want. It's, whichever oven works, whichever temperature works for you. And it's going to go in until it's become really nice and bubbly and brown and crispy. I almost forgot. Just give the edges a little brush with egg yolk or egg white. It's up to you. This will just help it to have a really nice rich golden colour when it finishes cooking in the oven. You could also use milk, but just brush that over the edges. I almost forgot at the start, but prick the base of your pastry, so I'm just going to do it now. Doesn't matter, just poke it through. This will just help it stop puffing up right in the centres of these pastries. So give your pastry a good pricking. And now it is ready for the oven. So now we're going to, while the salmon cooks in the oven, we're going to start by sauteing some baby spinach. This is going to cover the top of the salmon tart. You can't add it in before it goes in the oven, otherwise it'll crisp up too much. So I've got some olive oil in a pan, I've just added some butter. We're going to turn that up to a medium-low heat and just let that butter melt. We're going to add some baby spinach to the butter, and remember the rule with baby spinach, the more you add, the more it's going to shrink into nothing. It's going to look like a lot, but it's going to shrink right down. This is pre-washed, you know, so it's fine, you can wash it if you want, but this is pre-washed. So I'm going to add some in, and we're going to wilt this right down. Along with the spinach, I'm going to add a little bit of dried parsley, just a little. Remember, it's going to look like a lot, it's going to wilt, so don't go too much with your seasonings. Just a little bit of pepper, a little bit of dried garlic, and a little sprinkling of salt, just a bit. I think I'm using salted butter, so I'm not going to add too much salt. And give it all a little toss. As you can see, it's already started wilting massively at the bottom. I know you're probably thinking, why isn't she using tongs? I don't have any, so we're going to wilt that in. In fact, I think I might even add a little more spinach. As you can see, that took up a whole pan and it shrunk down to nothing in seconds. I actually added the rest of the spinach, so I'm just going to mix that. I'm going to cook it for a little while until it's really wilted, it's really soft. There's nothing that's tough about this at all. When you're at a point where you're thinking, where's my spinach gone? You can turn the heat off, it's ready. It has finished cooking, and what we're going to start to do is just dollop little pieces of that spinach you just sauteed onto there. When you've added your spinach, just put a little leftover dill on there just for garnish. And I'll just give that little pop of colour right at the end, and you're ready to eat. If you liked the recipe, please do leave a like, subscribe, click that notification bell, and thank you for watching.